so fucking normal to feel lonely. I feel like every single human has felt lonely at some point, so know that you are not alone in feeling lonely. Maybe it's something you just need to feel and experience, but the reason I'm making this video is for anyone that is in kind of a state of loneliness, or maybe a chapter of like chronic loneliness where you're just constantly being met with these waves of loneliness. It's not just kind of like a fleeting emotion. I want to share with you what I have learned from personally experiencing some big chapters of loneliness. What I have learned are kind of the reasons I have seen in myself and in others that are kind of the root of why you may be lonely, and then depending on why you're lonely, you can begin to find different ways, which I will suggest with you, a couple ways that have really helped me just feel a little less lonely. In my opinion, there are two main reasons or roots to this like gnarly tree of loneliness. That's why I want to talk about this in terms of, you know, what are the roots to loneliness and what are the remedies, because I feel like emotions are just, you know, loneliness is kind of like a feeling, an emotion, an experience, or like a symptom. And so it's leading us to a message from ourselves. And so that's kind of, you know, the message is linked to the roots. So yeah, just think for a moment about why you feel like you're feeling lonely, or when it may come up. And maybe it's a mix of both. And that is some of the deepest, you know, loneliness that we can feel, that well runs deep. The first root/reason for loneliness is that you feel uncomfortable being alone, like being with yourself. Maybe either you're not really good friends with yourself, you hate yourself, you judge yourself, you're really kind of taking on this relationship of being the critic of yourself, or maybe you're just kind of like scared to be alone, like you just like don't even know what to do with yourself when you're alone. And so it's kind of all woven together, because also maybe you are always distracting yourself or trying to always be with someone else so you don't have to feel this lonely feeling. And the second root is, I feel like it's when you're not regularly interacting with people that understand you and you really resonate and connect with. Because, you know, we can hang out with all kinds of people and still feel this lonely feeling, be in all kinds of public spaces where there's people around, and yet we feel so alone. And I feel like part of that is when you feel like you're the weird one, or you're the odd one out, or nobody gets you or understands you. And as well, you know, maybe times, because for me, I know a really lonely chapter I went through was during 2020, 2021, right? Like you're just not regularly around people. So I think, you know, a lot of people are probably still just like moving out of these lonely chapters, because I know for me, yeah, it definitely was a lonely time, like being locked away. And then this chronic lonely infection can get worse, because, you know, either you're uncomfortable, you don't want to be alone, you're like in resistance to being alone, you don't really know yourself, you hate on yourself, or, you know, you're just like in an environment where people don't understand you or get you, or you don't like have regular access to socializing with people. You know, maybe you are literally isolated. When those things, you know, they root down, and then they begin to like grow and grow. And for me at least, I found that then I would start to close myself off to the outside world. You know, I felt like, oh well, no one gets me anyways, or oh, I need to protect and hide myself away, and so I would be really closed off in public. Now you're just in this chronic state of loneliness, and you're closed off, and it's kind of this cyclical thing where you're stopping yourself from, you know, breaking free from this lonely feeling. And so we're going to share some remedies. It's gonna be like a beautiful, you know, cup of tea when you're like sick with the flu. Like, we're gonna clear you all up. First few remedies are kind of more connected to the first root. And basically, you need to just like befriend yourself, right? You gotta just get comfortable with feeling weird or scared or the loneliness while you're alone, and start to like make an effort and watch my video. I think it's that way. That's all about like falling in love with yourself and befriending yourself. And yeah, because that's like a whole other conversation, but essentially you're never alone. Even when you are alone and you feel lonely, like you're there with you. If you feel lonely, treat yourself like a friend that's feeling lonely, right? Like you would want to like, or like a lover, like you would want to shower them with like care and love, and also really put in effort to make your space extra cozy. Cause like, isn't that like the #1 remedy for loneliness? Is coziness, right? Like you feel at home, you feel safe, you feel cared for. So, you know, light a candle or a wood stove, you know, light some incense, something that smells good. You know, get like blankets and, you know, treat yourself, you know, to some delicious, like bake something delicious, or, you know, really like delicious home cooked soup, like a really like something that really reminds you of like family or delicious meals you've shared in the past with other people. Love that lonely part of you and really just like snuggle it. Okay, something else that I notice is when I haven't spent a lot of like quality time with myself in a while, like when I've been like doing, like, you know, spending time with other people, like always kind of on the move, or just like haven't been devoted to doing things that I love to do, or really like connecting to myself, like really like, you know, either journaling or really like connecting, I find I start to feel lonely. And also it starts to feel like kind of weird when I'm alone, like I'm out of practice, like I forget what it's like. So if you feel like that might be you, kind of just push yourself to do something that's really fun for you, you're really passionate about, something you're interested in. Like maybe it's even just a topic, something that's always intrigued you, something where it's like you can research it, you can watch videos about it, you can do it. Like if you have any creative hobbies or passions, like I find creativity really connects me to myself and just makes me feel so like whole and just like having such a great time with myself. Basically just making an effort to spend more time with yourself and really get comfortable with being alone. Okay, and now these remedies are more linked to the second one, when you're not interacting with, you know, a lot of people that you vibe with. Okay, so first of all, I feel like energy precedes matter. Is that like one of those phrases? I don't know. So to get the ball rolling and really magnetize people to you who you really resonate with, who, you know, you have fun with, who really like make you feel connected and whole and happy, is to open, okay? Like if you are closed, you're not going to magnetize people who are really, you know, in that heart, like heart connection, soul connection with you. So if you're closed, you might be either like wearing a mask and pretending to be a different version of yourself, or maybe you're not even going into spaces where you have the opportunity to meet these people, right? Or when you're in these spaces, you're like, have all your walls up and you're like, I don't want to speak to any humans. And like I get it, certain places where I'm just, you know, I'm just not in the energy where I want to meet new people and have conversations and be outward, you know. So like honor that, honor what you're feeling. Maybe you're in a chapter where you're just really internal, and maybe that's just a part of it, is experiencing this loneliness. But I feel that sometimes we can, really stop ourselves and block ourselves from making the connections that we're yearning for and are actually causing us to be closed off, which is like so painful. Just begin to open, begin to practice, like, okay, what would it feel like if I was open? And probably your body is even gonna open, you know. Sometimes when I'm like, you know, like I'm walking around all like intense with my energy closed, I feel like the more that you become comfortable with being yourself, with being alone, it's kind of like it works together, and then you feel more open and just be like curious and playful and, you know, interested in the people that show up in your reality randomly, you know, the strangers or the people that you bump into multiple times. And not every single person that you meet you're going to resonate with or is going to be your best friend, but maybe you can find some sliver of, you know, joy or connection or comfort just by like connecting for a second to someone in a cafe or at the gas station or, you know, walking by you. And once you feel like you're more open, start to look and seek out and really put effort into finding places where there's people that you think you might vibe with. So whether that's a hobby, whether that's like an event, like for me, being here and going to ecstatic dance has been really powerful because it's all people who really want to freely and openly express themselves and are kind of like weird alternative like people, like who are connected to the earth and to their bodies and to spirit. And yeah, so think about what you love to do, getting to know yourself and really seeing like what are my hobbies, what am I passionate about, what is fun for me, and then finding those spaces where people that like that stuff might also be. Yeah, sometimes we kind of perpetuate the loneliness for ourselves, which same. Okay, I get you. Like, I'm not judging you at all. It can be really hard to move out of like a lonely, introverted chapter, but maybe it's time. If you're watching this video, maybe it is time. You wanted to know how to feel less lonely, and yeah, I believe in you. Even by just watching this, know that, you know, you're not alone. I feel you. Everyone that watches this, comments, like, let's connect in the comments about like how loneliness has infiltrated your life, how you have been infected, but really like let's share about how to feel less lonely. Like, what are your favorite ways? Do you resonate with any of these ways? And yeah, like, how can we feel more connected in a world that seemingly is so disconnected? Like, I know it's possible, and I know that there are so many of us out there that are just yearning to connect to people that really get us and really feel whole in ourselves and feel connected to ourselves, to this life, to everything. And yeah, I feel like that's the way that we're meant to be. So I hope that this video helped you to feel even just a teensy bit less lonely. And yeah, know that I'm there with you.